Daniel was a quiet, unassuming middle school student. Always the smallest in his class, he often felt invisible except to the bullies. Every day, they found new ways to humiliate him, whether it was stealing his lunch, pushing him in the hallway, or mocking his shy demeanor. He tried ignoring them, but the harassment only grew worse. Eventually, the school became a place of dread for Daniel, and he felt trapped, powerless to stand up for himself. One afternoon, as he walked home from school, head hung low and stomach in knots, Daniel noticed a small, old building on a side street. The sign out front read, Isshinryu Karate Dojo. He had passed by this place dozens of times, but today, something drew him in. The words, "One Heart Way," the meaning of Isshinryu, echoed in his mind, and he wondered if maybe, just maybe, this was what he needed. Inside, the dojo was humble, with tatami mats lining the floor and a handful of students practicing under the guidance of a calm, serious man. The instructor, Sensei Tanaka, was older, his face weathered but kind, with sharp eyes that held decades of knowledge. The students moved with focus and precision, their punches and kicks sharp and controlled, yet there was a peacefulness to their movements that mesmerized Daniel. After watching for a while, Daniel gathered his courage and approached Sensei Tanaka. "Excuse me, sir," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "I'd like to learn karate." The sensei looked at him for a moment, reading more than the boy's words. He could see the weight Daniel carried, the fear behind his eyes, and the desperation in his voice. "Karate is not just about fighting," Sensei Tanaka said softly. "It's about finding balance, learning discipline, and building inner strength. Are you ready for that?" Daniel nodded, not fully understanding the depth of the words, but knowing he needed, something to change. Over the next few weeks, Daniel began training. At first, it was incredibly difficult. His body wasn't used to the physical demands of the martial art, and he struggled with the movements. But Sensei Tanaka was patient, guiding him with steady hands and encouraging words. The dojo became a sanctuary for Daniel, a place where he could leave behind the fear and anxiety that plagued his school days. Through Isshinryu, Daniel learned more than just punches and kicks. He learned kata, the forms that linked each technique together like a story, and kumite, controlled sparring that taught him to remain calm under pressure. Each lesson in the dojo was a step toward reclaiming his confidence. The repeated practice of basic strikes and blocks instilled not just physical strength, but also a growing sense of self-respect. One evening, after months of training, Daniel found himself facing a much larger classmate in the schoolyard. The boy, who had tormented him relentlessly, shoved Daniel's shoulder, waiting for him to flinch, to show weakness. But this time, something was different. Daniel didn't react out of fear. His body was calm, his breath steady, just like during the drills in the dojo. He stood his ground, maintaining the balanced stance Sensei Tanaka had taught him. "I don't want to fight," Daniel said, his voice firm but calm. The bully sneered, moving forward as if to strike. But Daniel, with a swift block and step to the side, redirected the bully's aggression without throwing a single punch. The boy stumbled, shocked, and after a brief moment, he backed off, confused by Daniel's newfound composure. Daniel walked away, heart pounding but proud. He hadn't hurt anyone, but he had stood up for himself in a way he never thought possible. Back at the dojo that evening, Daniel shared the story with Sensei Tanaka, who simply nodded in approval. "Karate is about more than fighting," the sensei reminded him. "It's about mastering yourself, about knowing when to stand firm and when to step aside." Years passed, and Daniel continued to train, eventually earning his black belt in Isshinryu. The boy who had once been afraid to face the world was now a confident young man. Through the way of Isshinryu, he had found not only physical strength, but also the courage to face life's challenges with resilience and grace. The dojo had become more than just a place to train. It was where Daniel had learned the true power of the One Heart Way.